This vaporous trail I've drawn is actually a Pareto curve, or power law. It's a graph that states that a small number of things have a large impact and a large number of things have a small impact. And in the 20th century, this could be called the shape of the age. And as a producer, this is where you'd be aiming for, the top of the curve here, which is called the head. And this, in the head, this is where you get your number ones, your blockbusters, your big hits, your top of the pops. And then coming out along the curve, you get your kind of low selling, non-commercial releases, your more specialised interests, or the kind of non-hits. And this is called the tail. So this is your top 20, and the non-hits make up the rest, the other 80%. The power law is also known as the 80-20 rule, or the law of the vital few. And this is how it looked for the record companies, film studios and publishing houses. You got your mainstream mass market up here, and your sub-economic or fringe interests way down here in the extremities. But at the leaving of the 20th century, at its end, the whole thing went head over tail, arse over tit, so to speak. See, the mass market is just that, it's mass. It's made of rigid matter, solid, weighty stuff that occupies physical space. When things start to get digitized, to get dematerialized, space is no longer a concern. Their dimension is limitless, as is their replication and distribution. So the artifact, the record, the book, has its information extracted, unbound from its material form, and is set free. Free of its physical limitations, and free as in it comes to cost nothing or next to nothing. Things can be almost given away because basically they cost so little to produce. And this allows anyone to then put anything online, become their own producer, distributor, their own sower of the system. And this creates an endless choice where any need can be met. Any preference can find an audience, even if it's just you and one or two others. So these special interests, these millions now of niche markets, have accumulated down here in the tail, in this previous sub-economic region here, and taken as a whole have become a mass that's equivalent to the head in terms of the audience that they are attracting. And this aggregate, this mass, that's the long tail. So this is the long tail. And it goes on and on and on, way beyond the visible eye. Let me have a drink. This is the kind of boring bit at the beginning. It doesn't get anything. Okay. In the time of the head, then, a product's life began on its release date, and it ended when it was deleted to make room for the follow-up, or removed to make space for something new on the shelves. In contrast, the long tail keeps accumulating because these spatial and temporal limits don't apply in here. There's no dates in here. Nothing actually expires. What you do have is an unlimited choice of perpetual and imperishable stock that extends all along its measure. So here, the movement of time has been converted into the arrangement of space. We have this kind of everywhen. And in this everywhen, this instantaneous ubiquity in the tail means that stock, instead of getting replaced, it just persists, kind of continues. So the remaindered, the discounted, the out of date, nothing is irredeemable in here. The alembicated, the recondite, the arcane, and the occluded, there's nothing hidden that can't be made known. As those that dispatched as waste and worthless are recuperated, and like the amaranthian flower that feels no decay, they return to life. See, the old don't need to make room for the new anymore. Instead, you have this kind of all-at-onceness with at least 8 generations kind of living alongside each other coexisting in a kind of, I don't know, unnatural company. Because this tale is of a very different nature. Oh, headless, lots of tails, reoccurring tails, moving tendrils, snails, cephalods, I might call it tentacled, semi-amorphous, partly squamous and partly rugosal. With what I can only describe as promiscuous intent, they seem to be caressing each other, touching and embracing themselves, itself, their arms, or whatever you call them, these reticulo-pseudopedia, raised, reaching up to whatever lies tantalizingly out of frame, listening to this weird ant music on their stereo, rising up as they flutter like in time-lapse, a cinematic blossoming of plants towards a light they cannot see but can hear and feel, like they possess an awareness in which the music is the electric soil in which this stuff could emerge out of, a simple, spontaneous arising, non-living, newborn without a mother. You've got to be fucking kidding. What is this thing? This nameless yeast achieving consciousness or consciousnesses, a wet cheese in a delirium, like a self-organizing yogurt or a voluptuous living custard.